Good morning, happy Monday. Welcome to Emergence of Being, and today we're talking all about energy loops. Stay with us. Welcome back again. And this topic, Dr. K has to start because she identified that this was one of my biggest issues. She's like, Hank, brother. Well, she was way more stern than this, but she's like, you got all these things that you need to go through and start closing these loops because it's kind of like pouring water through a colander and you're dispersing all this energy instead of focusing in one spot. So let's dive into energy loops.
I did that?
You did do that.
Oh, I'm never stern.
Yeah, you kind of beat me up a little bit, but it's okay. I liked it.
Oh, okay. It's my directness as a doctor. I can't help it.
Yeah.
So, this topic may not be horrifically long, but energy loops are anytime you start a project and you don't finish it, or you start an idea. So you either got to put a close to it and say, I'm not going to go down this road, or you just don't leave. It's leaving things hanging. I think that's the best way of describing it. Another energy loop is, people you need to talk to, conversations, relationships you may need to close or handle. It's kind of like, I don't really want to call them because it's not going to be a fun conversation, or I don't want to do it because it's not going to be comfortable. So it just kind of hangs out there in your head. Well, it's draining your energy. I know that sounds weird, but if you're constantly thinking about it and you're you got to do it, things you got to do, but you're not doing.
Yeah, and it's it causes head tripping. I had something recently where there was something that when someone would use this one particular word would trigger me, and it would set me off on multiple days of just head tripping. And it wasn't until recently it's finally I'm I have to have a conversation around it because it's just driving me batty. And then just the one conversation shifted everything. Mm-hmm. But it's when are lending your energy to either thought forms or commitments commitments is a big one. If you promise something but you never really wanted to do it, and then you just don't, but then you're always thinking about not doing it. That's another form of these energy loops, and it's identifying them all and either closing them by realizing you're not going to do it and just fessing up, or getting it done.
Exactly. I think another place is around the house. You see your desk is a mess and you walk by it daily and you're like, I know it needs to be organized. You think about it, and it's another thing that's draining you all the time because you walk by it all the time. I got to clean my pantry. I got to clean the fridge. My one room is a mess, and you walk by it all the time. And every time it drains you just that little bit. Every time it pulls you just that little bit. And so it's another place where energy kind of leaks out and it makes you tired. So you add all those things up, plus work, plus other things, and little by little, you've got a to-do list, or you've got things that need to be handled, but you're not handling them for whatever reason. And let's look at what those reasons might be and handle that. So that's another space that I think that there's an energy loop.
Yeah, and when it comes to space things, if it's an office or a family room or whatever it is, maybe ask what about me in my inner world is the reflection of that. Because if you just can't bring yourself to clean something, maybe one of my friends would often say the outside matches the inside. And so if you find yourself resistant to cleaning up or organizing a certain area in your home, what might that represent internally that might also need cleaning up? And as you clean up that, maybe it becomes easier to actually do the physical work around the house.
Yeah. Things in the house that need to be cleaned, you will create space for more in your life. It's really weird how that works. But if things are cluttered, you're not allowing more to come in. For example, clothes. There's the saying goes that if you haven't worn something for, I think it's a year, then you turn around and you get rid of it or wear it. So if you want more clothes, get rid of the clothes that you are not wearing, that you keep thinking, oh, I'll wear that next, sometime I'll wear it, I'm going to keep it. And then you accumulate. That doesn't create the space for more new options. Ooh, sorry.
That's okay. It was a catchy tune.
So, so that's another space to clean things up. If you want more
Mm.
income and more money. We had a conversation about money. Cleaning things up um, can allow the space for more things to come in. But if you're constantly cluttered with things, it doesn't allow those things to come in with more ease.
One thing that I was just thinking of is a huge area that keeps energy loops open. I've had a lot of personal experience with this recently is ghosting. Like if there's something that occurs that's like so big, or like there's an energy where you just want to do total avoidance, that is a huge example. If you've been ghosted, or the ghostee, there's like an energy loop there. And then it's kind of interesting because it stops, or it hinders the ability to close that loop for both parties then. And then so like if there's a two-way energy loop, here's a cool question. Like in the situation of a ghosting, how does one close it in a way that it isn't as impactful? It's kind of a, maybe we should actually sideline that. That could be a whole extra topic around ghosting and energy. So like when you don't necessarily have the power to make an actual direct shift.
Yeah, talk more about ghosting. Tell me about that.
So you're familiar with the term, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so ghosting is, for people who might not be aware of it. If like there's if you're in a relationship or a friendship, or even like I think it happens a lot. It's on the rise with online dating, because people will be, and this is not my personal example, just for people to know. But anyway, they'll be interacting with somebody and things might be going good, and then there's a shift on one side or the other, and instead of like having closure, saying, "Hey, this isn't going to work," they just stop responding, stop talking, no explanation, and just no response.
yeah, that's a big one, and I've experienced that. I had an assistant that was fantastic. I mean, I just loved her. We had a great relationship. We never had any issues. I mean, there was this stuff going around in the office when I was still with my medical group, and I came in one day and I'm like, "Where's Stephanie?" And I don't know. And then I'm looking around. I'm like, "What the heck? I got 10 people in the waiting room." I'm like, and then I come to the front desk and there's a letter, there's a note on the computer saying, "Thank you for your time. I have decided to quit." There was no warning, like time stopped, and I had an analogic experience, just like
Yeah.
when time stops and you're like, crap.
Well, at least you got a letter. Like it's recently happened to me a couple different examples, but like there were two people who, though they were like ending the relationship or whatever, but there was like a clear communication, and then there were others that just no talk, no communication, just
That's
gone.
that's rough. That is open loops, and those are loops that are very challenging to close because you may try to that person like, "Hey, can you just let me know what happened so that we can, resolve it?" So guys, please don't ghost people. Like, just give people closure because it really affects the ghostee, who's the person receiving the ghosting. Who
And
would you
like,
label that? The ghostee, the ghoster?
right. Well, and in my case, all I could really do is say, well, what do I really know about this? What is on my side of the street? And really just coming to a place of allowance, like, it's none of my business what other people think in a way, but from this experience, how could I go forward operating differently to minimize its impact or minimize things like that happening again? And so like it triggers like a huge inner work journey. So it was like very beneficial at the end of the day, and I'm very glad in a sense that it occurred. Plus it really shows you like what people are like really soul family, and what people like have your backs, and like true colors in a sense. But going back, because we had a comment from Radiant Reiki, just going back to kind of the clutter dialogue. But
Yeah.
she says, "Hi, I definitely have a lot of clutter or things in closets to clear out, especially closets. Like that's like where you hide stuff as a kid and things. So like for me, like closets are always like the symbol of maybe things. Like when I had to clean my room, like it was just like everything in the closet under the bed, right? And even my son Oliver, they did that the other day. I come into the room, they're supposed to be cleaning up. They're both like on their feet immediately, like, "Daddy, whatever you do, don't open the closet." So of course, I got it. Closet. I open the thing and it just like avalanches out. So like when it comes to closets specifically, it's like, well, what am I hiding deep dark deep inside that needs to come to light? What needs to be brought out of the closet, dusted off internally as you go through your closets? And granted, maybe Sigmund Freud says a cigar is sometimes just a cigar, but if it's something like a closet or drawers or things tucked away, like really, like what are in the depths of my soul that could really be looked at? That as I go through this closet, I'm also cleaning house.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels so good when you finally get to that, closing that loop and cleaning that out. It's just, it's really, really, you do feel so much lighter the next day. And so, why we carry these things around, I don't know. It's just, we just do. And to bring ourselves to clean it, to part with it, to detach from it, oh, the lightness that comes after that is really, feels really good. And for whatever reason, we don't see that lightness and we just kind of hang on to those things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's the best I
Yeah.
can say there.
Yeah. And the other thing that comes to mind with that is just going back to the question to like what works for you versus what serves you. And like one is something that is serving your mission in life, if you will, or the passion of the soul. And other things are what you were taught to think is important that like works. And the things that we have surrounded ourselves with what works, like you need to do the thing they call get a wife and have the house and like all the things that we're taught to be important to be like a good cog in the machine of society, is that really feeding the soul? And when you start to really ask those questions, your life can be decluttered. And a lot of those energy loops are created by how we were taught to be in the world. Like you got to do the right thing and be polite and say yes when you're asked to do something. But what if it's not an honoring of you and what serves you? And that, I think that's where a lot of these energy loops really come from, is an
Mm.
incongruency of the body and the being and the beyond, and versus what we know to be true versus what we're taught.
Yeah, and I think what else is coming to mind is things that are not in alignment with you. So if you keep doing a job, or maybe being with a person or even a friend that is not helping you, and or a family member that consistently drains you, but you feel you need to do it out of obligation, or for whatever reason. Sometimes these things are a little tricky. Family's family, can't always, well, you can, there's always a choice. Um, it can be a little trickier to detach, but these are places where things just continue. They're leaks of energy when you're continuously sitting in a situation, whether that be work, family, relationship, friendship, family, whatever. Throw whatever you want in there. That's continuously not feeling in alignment.
For sure. And I love what you said about obligation. There was a situation where we recognized that someone was operating out of obligation instead of inspiration, because obligation is something you're taught and inspiration is something you know, or that is like an internal drive. And like that distinguishment too is like a huge shift in how you operate in the world. Because when you start aligning, like I always use the word congruency for like the body, like the vertical axis, the body being and beyond. That's the congruency of like your who you are, the totality of your being. And then there's the alignment of your action, like thought, word, and deed. And when the life path and the soul path line up, you have like life becomes magic because everything's firing together. But when you have misalignments and miscongruencies, that's where things just kind of fall flat,
And it
or
drains
they are
you.
very traumatic and dramatic.
Yeah, and that drains you too. So look at all the places where things may feel like they're exhausting you.
Hmm.
And those are loops somewhere that you need to kind of close or get a better handle on. And they're not all of them are easy, because there's maybe situations where you need to continue going somewhere or seeing somebody, but maybe you can limit it or change it.
Right.
I know people that are in situations where I really think closure on that relationship would be fantastic, although it's not always that easy just to say, okay, beat it, I'm never going to talk to you again. It doesn't work that way. But maybe changing the structure, seeing that person less, um, may help.
And then the other question, then, if you're in a situation that you can't change it right away, is ask the question, well, how could I use the situation to serve me? And see, maybe you have a shift in your point of view of how that situation is showing up in your life. And that video I just sent you, I forget which one I sent you. There was like one on
The money.
manifestation. I sent you the money one. He had
Yeah.
the guy that I was watching this YouTuber and TikToker this morning that just put things in a whole new context. And one of the things he had put down for manifestation, which I've heard many times, it was just his delivery that was really good, is like you write out exactly what you would like a situation or what you'd like to create to look like. So if there's a toxic relationship, maybe write out like what kind of relationship would you like to see? How would you like that relationship to work? And like actually write it out and then visualize it and hold that space every day with no expectation. but holding that space of what would you like that to look like? What would it take for that to shift? And perhaps you can start to move what that experience is from, one side of the scale to the other in terms of how it's working for you, and make it way more palatable in the process, hopefully.
Yeah, there's a recent technique I learned of by Joyce Reynolds. You can look her up. She has since transitioned out of this planet, but she started a process called scripting. So you write out things as if they are already happening. So if you have a situation that you need resolution on, write it out how you would prefer it resolve, and see what happens. So you can create some miracles there.
And that's how magic works. Like if anybody's like I'm a root worker, a hoodoo practitioner, and one of the things you do in root work is you visualize the result of what it is that you're doing the magic for. You're not imagining it here or anything like that. You want your whole auric field to be like crackling with the feeling and the sensation of how it is to have the thing that you are advocating for. And that's where the vibration of the universe, like attracts like. You're creating the vibration of that which you wish to create, and like attracts like. That's what brings it to you. But it's also the consistency of doing that. Like writing it out once is good, but then holding that vision consistently. And that's why you do things like in hoodoo, you do like petition papers. You write that out, you put it underneath the candle, you light the candle every day. You're sitting with that candle, focusing on feeling how it is of it being actually so. So you're consistently putting the energy out to shift the experience and to create whatever it is you're looking to actualize in your life.
Yeah, it's a really powerful tool. Maybe I'd say even doing it daily, scripting about that daily
Mm-hmm.
with more detail if you're just doing it like a generality. Doing it daily so you are getting into the subconscious mind and kind of unwinding that energy and getting in there and cleaning that out so that you can create something different. And yeah, you have to have the right vibration. So affirmations don't often work because somebody inside is, if you're really angry, resentful, and you're just staying in the line, like, hi, then it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't often work. You have to bring the energy with it. You have to bring the
Right.
visualization. Like you said, your aura is crackling with
Yeah.
the excitement of it turning out. The tricky piece is the attachment. I tend to do that though. You get attached to the result, and you can't be
Yeah.
attached to the result.
And that's the thing that you said too, that if like an affirmation isn't working at first, and I've given this example many times in there, when I got sober, my mantra for like the first year of sobriety was self-pity and gratitude cannot coexist.
Mhm.
And the first year-ish, I don't know when the shift happened, but it wasn't like a magic wand overnight, but I stayed the course, which we talk about a lot. I would use that every time I went to a place of negativity. I would stop myself. I would reframe it in a sense of gratitude. So, like if someone else was an alcoholic too, and I wanted to help them, my sponsor would say, "No, you don't say you want to help them, or you feel powerless to help them. You say, I'm so grateful that I'm in a place of sobriety that if and when they're ready, I could be of service." And so I would always say my little mantra, and whatever I went to a place of negativity, say something to bring it about. And it took about a year, but there was a shift. If you stay the course, even if it doesn't feel like it's working, it's like you're still putting the energy there, and it's just building up. Because if your scales are like this, negativity and positivity, it may take a bit to have the scales turn and
Yeah.
shift. And but you stay the course. So even if you don't think it's working, give yourself the benefit of the doubt that something is happening. Perhaps you just aren't aware of the result, and do it anyway with no expectation. And
Yep.
with the no expectation thing, that makes the scale shift a lot faster.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I've learned that lesson time and time and time again. We've given multiple examples. So when you let go and you almost kind of write it down and forget about it, so you focus on it for, spend some time every single day, sending that intention out, sending that vibration out, and then kind of just let it go. Like, whatever happens, not sitting there going, it's gonna happen.
What
So
what comes to mind is your whole thing with squeezing the sponge, because that goes right in with like having the expectations. Why not talk about that for just a moment? That might be a great last piece of the puzzle to give for this.
expectations. We have very strong expectations, and so that's almost, it's a term that one of my mentors uses, called over potentializing. So when you put too much energy on something, you're like, it's got to happen, it's got to happen, you're using your will to bring it forth. And manifesting with will is another energy loop. It can get kind of tiring, like, why isn't it happening? I tend
Mhm.
to manifest with will. That's just what I've learned to over time, and it works. However, it can be exhausting. It can be tiring. So sure, you can manifest with will. It I think it takes it longer to manifest because you're putting so much energy on it, and then there's some frustration that starts happening. Well, what the heck? It's been 2 months. I've been saying this affirmation every single day. Why is it not? Because you're putting so much, you're using that vibration, but you're putting it along, you're using frustration along with it. And when there's frustration, that's kind of like you're pulling it forth, but then it kind of runs away from you because you're chasing it too much. I hope that's kind
Yeah.
of making sense. You're
Yeah.
chasing it.
And the more literal analogy that I mentioned is like when you're squeezing a sponge, like if you have your hand in a fist with a sponge in the middle and you're trying to get it to take on water, like you're trying to get it to take on the possibilities of the universe, can that sponge receive anything if you're squeezing it?
It
It
can't.
can't. You
Can't.
gotta let go. You
Gotta
gotta
let
let
go.
go. Manifestation is like a bow and arrow. You have the intention and you let it go. And you see what happens. And Mary Lee brings up an excellent point, which was also in the video I sent you. It is a process, not an event. Like it's like like focus on what can I do today towards it, not the thing itself. And that is like the process. Like that one guy I sent you the flower. You don't focus on the flowers. You focus on the process, the fertilizer, the weeding, the water, the sun, and make sure all the things that are there that are required, and then the flowers come. But if you just focus on flowers, 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 and you don't do anything, flowers, I mean, maybe the wind will blow some seeds in the garden and maybe the flowers will come, but it's like it's a lot more sporadic than if you are intentionally taking the action and doing your part in co-creation. It's a whole night and day difference.
Absolutely. So you kind of put it out there, send it with a lot of love, like know and trust that it will happen. And sometimes it is timing. Sometimes there's things in the background, in the back office, that have to happen for things to line up appropriately. And you might not know it until you down the road. Like I had this house that I was, I built this house and I was like selling it, and uh, this is the first time around because I was in this whole relationship thing, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna try. So I put the house up for sale. I'm like, it's not selling, damn it, it's not selling. What the heck? Why is it not selling? And well, that relationship started coming to a close and it abruptly ended. And had that house sold, I would have had nowhere to go after I ended this relationship. So I look back now and I'm like, well, I think some angels were looking after me. The universe was looking after me because, of course, there were different options. Sure, I could have gotten an apartment or something else, but this was the easiest road. So somebody behind me, I think, was like, yeah, we're not going to sell it because you're going to need it. So
Yeah.
there's always, not always, but there might be something that you're not seeing that a different version of you in the future is seeing and knows that you're going to need that, or somebody's looking after you. So be a little patient with those things because we often want, it's like, well, we've put the manifestation out and I've written it and I've done this and I've journaled, and why isn't it happening? There might be things that are needing to line up so that this happens.
Awesome. And for those of you, this is part two of a series. If you go to the Emergence of Being YouTube channel, you can find out part one. Part one we did last week, it was complaining is draining. Today's energy loops. Next week, we are going to talk about energy vampires. Then we're going to talk about entities, and then food and movement. So this is a whole energy series. And then we're going to have a whole second series of, I forget now, I think bringing new energy. I forget what our second series is, but we're going to do a whole nother energy series, kind of like bringing the energy in. And then we'll have a special episode with Jake, I believe,
Yeah.
for National Sex Day. We're going to be talking all about sex. So we'll be putting that out there, and that's going to be fun. We're going to do that the Monday before, so you can
That's like
use the tools. Hopefully,
June or
yeah, it's
something.
in June, and like
Yeah.
the day itself, I think, is a Thursday. But we're going to keep our normal Monday time, and we'll talk about all kinds of stuff related to that. So you'll have it handy for National Sex Day, so you can celebrate it.
Who creates these national days? I really want to know how
No,
they.
you can create them. There's like a website. You can just make a day, and yeah. So like that, you can't do it as an individual. You have to be an organization. But you could go make National Rock Day if you wanted, and you could have that, or National Tree Day. There's literally a day for everything, and Dr. Dane here formed International Being You Day. So there's a day for everything.
There's a day for everything. We only
There
have
is.
365 days. Did they fill them all? I'm sure they did.
There's some days that have multiple things because there's like the local US calendar, and then there's the national calendar, and then there's like the
Oh,
international calendar. So you could have like National Hot Dog Day, and then a month later have International Hot Dog Day. and so it's like it's always something.
It's always something.
Oh, something. We
So
should start a day, Dr. K. We should
we should.
figure out
That's what I was
something.
thinking. I'm like, where is that website so
I
we
will
can
send it
start
to
a
you.
day?
Like, yeah, we can totally, like, you guys let us know in the comments, what kind of day should we start?
What kind of day
Like
should we start?
international stop being evil. We'll think of something.
International Stop Squeezing the Sponge Day.
Yeah, something. We'll come up with something catchy, and we can like start a day, and then see what happens. It worked wonderfully for Dr. Dane here because he sold a ton of books about Being You Changing the World and International Being You Day. So,
It's
but
crafty.
it is very crafty. Like a lot of them are made for marketing purposes or for bringing awareness around issues. So there was like International Women Business Day, for example, Women Equality Day. There's days for everything, either for selling hot dogs or for bringing awareness to really for causes that really have the potential to change the world. So we'll think of a good one and then we'll start
I
one.
have a thought on
Let us
that
know if you have
though.
any ideas. You don't know?
Well, they have the Cancer Awareness Month or whatever. I want to make a comment on that though because that just popped up. Kristen Northrup, if you've never read any of her books, she's a gynecologist and went on to do a lot of energy things, and she talks a lot about we have these months of cancer awareness, and there's all this, and I'm not saying I'm not demeaning cancer, but when you bring in cancer awareness, what do? You're putting all that energy on. Oh my God, cancer! It's such a horrible thing. So where are you putting that energy? She said you really need to be more on health awareness month. So you're shifting the energy into being healthy rather than
Right.
into putting all the energy on disease and curing the disease, because
Right.
the body can cure itself at any point in time. So that's just a total side note, sidebar on be aware of what the awareness day is. Whether you want to put
Right. And how you
awareness on
approach
that
it.
disease. Yeah,
Well, you may have to do streams of like, about whenever we see one of those days or months that is like that. Maybe we do streams around like reframing how to use those months. I mean, there's a lot of attention already. Why not like say, hey, there is a lot to be aware of. Here's what you need to be aware of to heal these situations versus like just having your focus on the cancer. Here's what you could do to heal or to shift your experience around it and those things. Like cancer is something I have. I don't have cancer. Like the little things like that. Or cancer is something I'm experiencing, but it's not me. Like not
true.
identifying with the disease is like
Correct.
one big thing.
Correct.
Secondary gains. Okay, that's going to be another series for sure.
Another series. All
Cool.
right, I guess I know that's it. Nobody's got any questions about any of this stuff. What we got, like a
No.
minute or two? I guess there's no questions, just comments.
Yeah, just a couple comments. Mary Lee was just saying, I am divinely
Divinely
guided.
guided. I love that line. I am. When you say I am, anything that comes after I am, if you say it all the time, because you are a higher spiritual being. You're like little
Yeah.
G. My friend just referred it to God, little G. So you're little G. I am. I am. Those are the words of the divine. So you are divinely guided. You are. You always are. Always.
Yeah.
So people feel they aren't, and you have to remember who we are.
Yeah, there's in the How to Become Money workbook, they have some affirmations like I am love, I am power, I am money, I think there's a couple other ones. I am creativity. Like maybe make a list. Like what are you? Like some of the things that you want to most like honor about who you are, and then with who you are, what can you create with that? And it's just a little process to really take your beingness and draw from your beingness opportunities to express that being through doing. That's really what manifestation is. You're being something first, and that being is attracting experience where you can express that being by doing. It's not doing in order to be, it's being in order to have the experience through doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but okay,
Yeah.
we're going to keep talking if we don't stop.
Okay.
Just fine. But thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll catch you next Monday for the next part of our energy series. Until then, take care
Have a great week.
and stay aware. Bye.
Bye.